Greetings, aliens. This is TJ, and you're watching Studio Sessions with Astronoize. Today, I want to share with you just a few tips on how to get overall better sounding hi-hats. So first off, let's go ahead and start here. I'll start with this little 16th shaker type hi-hat. We'll go ahead and start off with, I like to put an EQ first in the chain right here. As you can see, we'll come back to that here in a second. But then next in the chain, I like to put this lofi. What this does is it just adds extra harmonics. And this is just a sample right here. I guess if you were to create your hi-hat out of massive or something, you could create your own harmonics, but this is just a simple way to do it. I'm sure most DAWs have a plugin similar to this. Honestly, I go pretty subtle on this. All I do is add just like 0.5 distortion. And I really like this noise thing here. It just adds a little bit of white noise on top of it, which with hi-hats sounds really good. So let's get a listen actually before, just so you can hear this hi-hat sample I got playing here. Right, so that's what it sounds like, and then we'll kick in this lo-fi plugin so you can hear the difference. Yeah, so you're going to get a big boost in volume with that. Obviously, you can just adjust that accordingly with the fader afterwards. Like I said, go pretty subtle with it because a little goes a long way, and that white noise just adds the extra harmonics on the top end, which with hi-hats sounds excellent all the time. It sounds like you're actually using like maracas, like a real shaker or something like that. So that's goes on almost all of my hi-hat tracks just to give a little extra top end and extra flair. So moving on. Next up, I will mention that I like to mix in mono. So if you're imagining a real drum set, all of the instruments on a drum set are mono instruments. None of them are stereo instruments like you would get with like, like a synthesizer or something like that. So I kind of mix my drums as they would be in real life. And one way to make them sound a little bit wider, as you can hear with this 16th hat, it's pretty narrow right now. But I like to put this little auto pan, and most DAWs will also have a little auto pan feature inside of them as well. Or you could just go into, I'm sure it's got pan left and pan right, and you'll just have to draw fades left and right to just auto pan it yourself. But this is a quick little way to do it. I like to link it to the tempo. Sometimes maybe just keep it off tempo to get a weird timing. But you can adjust the width accordingly. I find that on 16th hi-hats, it sounds pretty good to keep it fairly narrow, just a little bit of movement. And take a listen to what this does. Right, so you're just getting a little movement left and right. It's not a huge difference, but when you start stacking all of your drums up against each other, you don't want everything to be playing out of both left and right speakers at the same time, which is what a stereo instrument or something like that goes. But what you can do is put this little auto pan and it'll just give it a slight variance left and right automatically. That's a quick way to just give it a little bit of stereo width without just putting a widener on it. So yeah, we'll come back to this EQ, like I said, again later. Next up, we'll do these hi-hats right here, this little 8th hi-hat. And what I did is I just imported 2 samples. So let's take a listen to each of them on their own, I guess. There's one of them. Cool, there's the other one. So a little trick I like to do, both of these are in stereo because these are from a sample pack, and most sample packs are going to give you stereo samples to work with. So what I like to do in Pro Tools, and I'm sure, again, every DAW has a similar function, I like to right click and then I'll go to split to mono. Because again, I like to work with mono instruments. So we're going to keep only one of these. Let's delete one of these for each side, basically. Let's delete all the other ones. Yeah, whatever. So left and right, these two hat samples now, one of them is panned 100% left, one of them is panned 100% right. Let's get a little more even mix right there. And let's take a listen to them both together now. So as you can hear, it really jumps out left and right whenever you have two different hi-hats playing at the same time, one panned hard left and one panned hard right. So again, let's go in here and I'll make some adjustments on the levels to these just to get a little bit of variance and the velocity, which is another good way to make it feel like it's a real drummer playing it. So check this out. That's a good way to make it feel like every hit is not the same, like a real drummer would play it. He's not going to hit the cymbal every time with the same velocity. That just gives it a nice feel and again makes your hi-hats sound overall a little bit better. Let's go ahead and put an EQ on this and I'll show you what I do EQ-wise with hi-hats. So starting here in the left, always like to low cut. Let's just say around 200 for now. Turn these off, we don't need them. Oop. With the pretty narrow Q, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sweep through the upper frequency range because there's usually some resonances that don't really add to the hi-hat, and if you pull those away, then you can stack more hi-hats and your synths are gonna come out a little bit more. And generally you don't want resonances building up in your tracks, so it's a good way to mix, to kind of go through with an EQ and listen for them and kind of notch them out a little bit. Check this out. That's just a little way that I like to clean up the hi-hats. You're not going to hear much of a difference in this example because all I have is a kick and, you know, a few hi-hats playing. In the context of a mix, though, whenever you have everything playing all at once, that really saves a lot of headroom and gives more room for energy in the upper ranges of the synth and stuff like that. Pretty important when you start stacking a lot of things together. One more thing I want to show you on this 16th hat to just make it feel not so stale. Like, listen to this right now. Just to give it a little more movement and swing almost, put a little sidechain on it. Any compressor will do. Again, you're just sidechaining it to the kick. I have a video that explains that, and you can go check that out if you need an explanation on how to sidechain. But yeah, listen to this as I dial in the threshold on this this little shaker hat. I'll mute these just so you can hear the swing that kind of gets introduced to it. Right, so it just gives a little bit more groove to the hi-hat, so it's not just it sounds too robotic, basically. Anything to liven up your drums, to make it sound like a real drummer's actually playing it, is always going to be beneficial. It's always going to make your drums kind of pop and make people say, you know, wow, those are really good sounding drums. I can't really put my finger on what exactly that is, but it just sounds more lively. It doesn't sound as robotic. Anything to introduce the human element into this electronic music is definitely going to make your music a step above other people's. So yeah, guys, I'm going to keep this video rather short today. There's a few tips on getting hi-hats a little bit cleaner. If you have any other questions or ideas, contact us, Astronoize Official on YouTube. Look us up on social media, Astronoize Music, or you can find me, TJ Janae. You can contact me on social media. I'll answer any questions, and I will try to make videos on what you guys request. So message me, request stuff, and I will answer those questions for sure. Until next time, peace.